Madam President, Madam High Commissioner, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor to have the opportunity to address you on behalf of the Republic of Serbia and express support to a body as important as the United Nations Human Rights Council. The protection and promotion of human rights represents one of the key obligations of states and the entire international community. Cooperation among states, civil society, and international organizations in this field is of the priority importance for the preservation of peace and stability in the world. This year's session is held in rather unusual circumstances. Last year, around this time, the most serious global health crisis that humanity has encountered in the last 50 years broke out. The impacts of COVID-19 pandemic on our lives, including the enjoyment of human rights, have become an everyday challenge for all of us. In this situation, it is important to step up our efforts to protect the human rights of each individual and ensure that no one is left out. Since the beginning of the crisis, the Republic of Serbia has taken all necessary measures to suppress the pandemic in the best interest of all citizens, without discrimination or on any grounds. We have taken the vaccination of the population seriously, building on the premise that vaccination is the most important issue of public interest today. So far, more than 850,000 citizens have been vaccinated in the Republic of Serbia, and we expect to have about 1 million vaccinated citizens by the end of February. In order to carry out this task, we need to leave all other considerations aside. The health of the citizens is the top interest, much like the right to health care is the crucial human right at this point. I take this opportunity to reiterate our call to all states to unite in efforts to ensure even distribution of vaccines and provide all with the opportunity to be immunized against COVID-19. Even in such circumstances, I wish to convey that the Republic of Serbia continues to attach importance to the work done and role played by the Council as the essential international body with a capacity to improve, promote, and protect the position of individuals and nations across the globe when it comes to human rights. To this end, Serbia has been implementing mechanisms based entirely on dialogue, cooperation, monitoring, and maintaining communication with UN member states, but also with various international organizations. Furthermore, I would like to underline that Serbia highly values and supports the independent role of and impartial work done by the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Madam Michelle Bachelet, and that our support to her mandate will continue in the period ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, let me remind you that Serbia is a state party to 8 international human rights instruments, and that our country is on a regular basis preparing and submitting periodic reviews to the treaty bodies. In the international arena, Serbia will continue to call for consistent implementation of international norms on civil and political rights, economic and social and cultural rights, and for the promotion of women's rights and rights of the child. We will continue our comprehensive efforts in combating discrimination and torture, and also efforts to ensure the protection of minority rights and preservation of cultural identities, safeguarding the rights of persons with disabilities, while also combating poverty and social segregation. In 2018, the Republic of Serbia presented its third periodic report within the framework of the Universal Periodic Review process. The review is an important mechanism of the Human Rights Council, whose recommendations have contributed to the strengthening of institutional infrastructure in the domain of human rights protection in the Republic of Serbia. At the national level, Serbia focuses significant attention to issues of social, economic, civil, and political rights, while looking after the cultural and religious diversity of its population and protecting the enjoyment of cultural heritage and religious pluralism. The protection of minority rights in the Republic of Serbia is at the highest level and in line with Council of Europe and OSCE standards. In that regard, and also for the sake of ensuring lasting peace and stability, especially in the neighborhood, we expect that other countries also pay due attention to the protection and promotion of the rights and freedoms of persons belonging to the Serbian minority as well as ethnic community. Ladies and gentlemen, the Republic of Serbia attaches special importance to reaching a sustainable solution of the issue of protracted displacement in Serbia when it comes to both refugees from Bosnia and Herzegovina and Croatia and internally displaced persons from Kosovo and Metohija, including the so-called internally displaced persons within Kosovo and Metohija, since the stabilization of the situation in the region largely hinges on the resolution of these issues. When it comes to the protection of human rights in this context, the above is best illustrated by the fact that more than 20 years since international presence was established in Kosovo and Metohija, there are still approximately 200,000 internally displaced persons in the Republic of Serbia who were forced to flee the southern Serbian province due to persecution and threats. The information on the sustainable return of internally displaced persons presented in the UN Secretary General's regular reports on the work of UNMIC is devastating. In this context, in addition to its contribution through assistance to Serbia with the ongoing migrant crisis, for which we remain grateful, we expect the international community to continue its efforts to identify lasting solutions, including the securing of conditions for sustainable return of internally displaced persons. Ladies and gentlemen, the human rights situation in the southern Serbian province remains worryingly. Even after more than 20 years since the adoption of the UN Security Council Resolution 1244 and the establishment of an international presence, fundamental human rights, as guaranteed by international conventions, including the right to life, integrity, and dignity, continue to be violated in Kosovo and Metohija. Serbs and other non-Albanian population are subject to ethnically based discrimination while being constantly exposed to violence and intimidation. Serbia attaches special attention to cooperation with UNMIC and UN human rights mechanisms applied in Kosovo and Metohija. The presence and activity of UNMIC is of key importance for the Republic of Serbia, given that the UN framework based on the UN Security Council Resolution 1244 is a guarantor of status neutrality of the international presence in the southern Serbian province. We find it necessary to continue the activities of UNMIC in an admission scope and with an unchanged mandate, calling for stressing the need that UNMIC must remain engaged in the field of human rights protection, which in the case of Serb population in Kosovo and Metohija is a matter of survival on that territory. Thank you for your attention.